It's possibly the hardest thing you can do in your life, professionally.
Basically, it's sort of the worst kept secret in the business.
So it's maybe the unpredictability that makes it more intense, I think.
If anyone doesn't want to be identified on film, just let me know. You can get one of these off me. You just leave it here. The next 10 minutes. No. Okay. Fuck, I only brought 3. They're actually cut-offs from a burqa factory.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to stage Callum McGuinness.
I got into comedy a bit of a roundabout way, actually. I started, my first gig was in university. Me and my friends resurrected the Comedy Society that was flagging there.
I'm not too sure. I've always felt that I wanted to do comedy. I did a lot of acting as a child. I think I always enjoyed, I think a lot of comedians enjoy the attention, kind of being that spotlight sort of feel. Was always the thing, and then for years I just kind of forgot about it, and then very recently I decided it's time to give it a go.
This will sound so pretentious, but it started out with debating in the first instance, because I find if you can form an argument and say something serious and take heckles and points of information, then you can move on to the advanced stuff of gagging and holding a room.
I've just done a few shows now, so I don't have the fear I used to.
I can't help but notice just how dry this floor is. Dryness.
But the first couple of times I went up, I thought I could quite easily have just been sick.
Every time I'm usually shiting it.
It's been 15 years, people! You can't say it too soon! Let's go! It's never coming back!
So, you get used to the nerves, it's kind of fueling.
A lot of mental things, like, because writing's so personal, you're putting that out there, and you kind of, there's always a voice in the back of your head going, what if no one thinks this is funny?
For me, I always carry a notepad. That's the first habit I have of writing. I always used to take notes. I'm going to sound weird here, but I always had a notepad. Even before I knew what comedy was, I was always writing down a new word that I didn't know.
It wasn't sort of in neat tables, it was just sort of like thrown down on a page, sort of up the sides and round the corners.
So that was really handy in later life for comedy.
Either I'll have an idea already, like a premise of something I think there's a joke inside. It's like just a kind of really rough idea. And then, so I'll sit down, I'll grab myself a beer, and I've got my journal, and I'll just start like sketching out ideas. Like a lot of time it's kind of like a stream of consciousness sort of thing, where I'll just write continually, and then sometimes you'll see something appear. Sometimes you don't. But most of the time, what will happen is you get a structure and some sort of conclusion that's hopefully funny, and then you work the final point into a punchline.
I would love to be as prolific a writer as some people, and to just sit down and batter out a set and then just move on to the next thing. But no, inspiration tends to sort of hit me at when I least expect it, really. I would love to just sit down and be hit by divine inspiration, but that's not how I work. Generally, I find it's, for writing, it's a matter of combining the mundane with the mental and mashing them together.
You know, when you're in the boudoir entertaining a lady friend and can't quite get the stamina, you know, you sort of have a bad case of coitus interruptus, you know what I mean? No. It's usually, no. Right. For the rest of us mortals, must be, oh yeah, you look manly enough, Mount Man, for the rest of us, if ever it happens to us, apparently that is a phrase in Edinburgh as well. Apparently that's called getting off at Haymarket. Is that right? Is that right? Yes! Excellent.
Often it's ideas just hit me on the way to a gig, or in the green room with the other comedians standing at the back looking awkward, or sometimes watching other shows. I have a few local heroes of mine that perform around here.
Well, I thought it was a guy, but it turned out that it was a girl. So, well, I want someone.
On stage, some of the stories I tell, they're all based on true stories, but I've just embellished and elaborated them. So sometimes it can just be an idea, or it can be an actual, just sort of ridiculous situation that you've seen. This is where a joke I talk about on stage is kind of based. I was walking down here late one night.
I'm walking down the road, I've got the tunes on, I've had a few beers. You know when you get right in the zone, you're like...
and was accosted by a drunk young lady.
And on the horizon I see this girl shambling towards me. And she looks angry. So I'm like, here we go.
After various attempts on my behalf.
And that's when I make the fatal mistake that men have made for thousands of years when confronted with this sort of situation. I told her to calm down. She punched me in the face. Twice.
I was already thinking while I was talking to her, because she was quite hysterical after she punched me.
And she started to cry.
And but at the time I was thinking, she's okay, but at the same time I can write about this because it's a bizarre situation.
So now not only do I have a sore face, I'm also being made to feel guilty about it.
I have a trombone in my set, which is a bit of a wild card, bit of a gimmick I like to use as well, do trombone comedy. So I like to practice the trombone beforehand, before going on stage. Practice my theme tunes, practice my film themes.
I know that the crap I can cut out, like stuff that's just like unnecessary, like just need to take out things that are like of no consequence to the story. Get rid of them and then try and replace it with like maybe a one-liner or something, and that should hopefully help. I mean, it's so subjective, so I could go down there and people love it, or you know, I could get booed off the stage.
Absolutely. For me, it's I know comedy is so subjective, but for me, it's all about what I find funny and share with the audience as well. Of course, I have the responsibility to make them laugh. Otherwise, I'm not a comedian then, am I?
So you may be shocked to discover I don't have the best luck with women. You may be shocked with this Herculean exemplar before you. Rah!
No. So she was a big girl. She was about 4'7", lying down. Take it from me, right? I stand because I heard girls like music.
And the first time I saw Callum on stage, you'd only done 1 or 2 gigs before I saw you. Yeah. And I was so nervous beforehand. I was thinking, oh, I really like him, but what if he's not funny? Like, it's just going to be dire. What am I going to say? But luckily, I don't have that problem. I do think he's funny, and I was actually surprised pleasantly by how well he came across on the stage and how confident he seemed.
If it's your first time in a pub in Edinburgh, finding the bathroom can be a bit of a challenge. Due to the age and structure of the buildings, there's often stairs involved. Sometimes there's underground corridors. Sometimes there's a labyrinth populated by minotaurs. This was that sort of place.
Whenever I get a laugh, I'm always really like delighted with it, because it's so hard to know when you look at it. Because a lot of time I won't laugh at it, but I'll have an idea that I think is funny, and then when you write it, you're like, okay, I think that's good. But then it's so hard to predict for me, like what the audience is going to like. I've definitely done quite a lot of jokes where it's just been nothing. Maybe one guy at the back goes, ah, but that's it. You're like, that's something.
Performing for me feels like a release. You know, if I wasn't shouting and flailing on stage, I would be shouting and flailing up Buchanan Street. I feel that a lot of the times it's a public confessional. I know that's probably irresponsible to use an audience as just an oral punch bag, but it seems to get a good response.
Bit last year.
I don't want work all day. I don't want you. be no slave.
Obviously it's with experience that you get better, and we live in Edinburgh, which is the best place in the world to be in August for comedy, so yeah, I think got potential, definitely.
Thanks.
Hanging on to this one!
Yes.
I know there are a lot of avenues to take to try and hit the big time, you know, try and get to the level of being on telly and that. Presenting, judging on talent shows, there are really a few ways in. But for me, I think I would just be happy having this as a hobby for me. I'm just happy making people laugh.